What up, Dragon Ballers? Today we're going to be checking out episode 3 of Dragon Ball Daima called Dragon Ball Daima. I'm going to be giving my thoughts and opinions along the way, going point by point on the various things that happened. This was another world building episode with a little bit more establishing of the stakes. We're learning more about the world of the demon realm, and we are getting a little bit of an insight into who Glorio is. We still don't know much about him, but this episode gives us a little bit more. So if you guys have been enjoying the reviews of these episodes so far, make sure you guys hit that subscribe button. I'm going to be doing weekly reviews of these episodes all the way until the end of the series. And at the end of this video, I will be giving my overall rating of this episode. We start right where we left off on the previous episode. Episode 2, we were leaving Earth from the lookout with Glorio, Goku, and Shin. And so as they were leaving Earth, Shin explains that the demon realm planes are faster since they're fueled by magic, obviously, right? Magic shenanigans, of course, that can explain and account for everything. Glorio, by the way, his voice sounded very familiar because I was watching this in the Japanese sub. Glorio is voiced by Uchiyama Koki, who also happens to voice Meruem from Hunter x Hunter. And also he voices Shigaraki from My Hero. I am very much accustomed to that voice. So when I heard him, I was like, wait a minute, that sounds familiar. They have to fly to the war point, which is the gateway to the demon realm. They find out that it is located near a planet called Batapi in the Raka system. I don't know if that's going to mean anything later on down the road, so I figured I'd just mention it. Goku asks about Goma's power because, again, Glorio was asked to retrieve Goku so that Goku could defeat Goma, so he wanted to get a feel for who he's coming up against. Glorio says because Goku beat Majin Buu, Goma is not going to be a problem. So that kind of establishes the scale of what we're facing here. But he has mentioned that Goma is crafty with magic and whatnot, so he could still pose a serious problem. But of course, since they have been nerfed now, I think this is probably just to kind of even the odds a little bit. Goma's going to be a crafty, wily magic user, and Goku is a nerfed warrior in a child's body, who is probably not as strong as his Super Saiyan 3 form against Kid Buu, so we'll have to wait and see how strong he ends up being. While Goku is reassured by this fact, Shin is still bothered. So Shin then proceeds to do the same motion that Goku typically does when he's about to use instant transmission. He puts 2 fingers to his forehead and he closes his eyes almost as if he's telepathically instant transmissioning some information over to Kibito, which he does a couple of times in the episode. Then they reach the giant goldfish, as Goku puts it, which is located right next to the planet. The giant goldfish hears that Goku keeps calling him a goldfish and he takes exception and he gets a little upset. Shin then proceeds to call him Warp Sama. So from here on out, we're going to call the giant goldfish Warp. But Goku doesn't seem to understand that. So when Shin tells him to stop calling him goldfish, he's like, okay, I'm going to call him a pop-eyed goldfish. And he starts making him more upset. So then Shin tries to shut him up, cover him up behind Glorio. Glorio then identifies himself at the check-in to Warp in, but then Warp asks, wait, who are the 2 people behind you? And he asks, show me their ears. So this whole ear pointy thing is very much being brought up again and again and again. So yeah, the whole meme that just kind of took on a life of its own after the first episode is very much still continuing here. And so while Shin is the first to reveal that he too has pointy ears, Goku does not. And Warp is like, okay, show me the person behind you. And so right before Goku is revealed again, Shin uses his magic, which he should, it's magic, whatever. He turns Goku's ears temporarily pointy. And so by doing that, Warp is like, okay, you know what? You're fine. You're free to go. But before they do, they have to enter a pin number. So we talked about this in the first episode. Goma needed a pin number to leave the demon world. And now you need a pin number to re-enter. And I thought that Gloria would be using the same number as Goma, meaning that everyone from Demon World would have the same pin number, but it looks like each individual person has their own different pin number. So Glorio's pin number is 8821, whereas 0493 was Goma's. I don't know if those 2 number combinations mean anything. I don't know what the Japanese version would sound like. But after inputting the pin, they warp through. As they're warping through, Shin telepathically tries to instant transmission the info to Kibito, but before he can do that, they are defragmented and they are sent through the Doctor Strange multiversal distortion sequence thing, which is again really cool to look at. They then reach a relay point which has 3 entryways. There's a red entry, a blue entry, and a yellow entry. The first entry, which is the red one, is known as the first hatch, which can only be entered by palace members from the first demon world. The blue entry in the middle is meant for the second demon world, and the yellow one, which is the third demon world, is the one that they enter through, because that was the place that Glorio was asked to retrieve Goku, the king of the third demon world. So as they go through that, Shin talks about why they don't just go through the first demon world. It's faster, it's closer to Goma. Glorio then says that he's not allowed to do that. He's supposed to go through the third demon world. And then Shin even says only first and second demon world residents are able to travel between these demon worlds. Glorio says that he actually works in the first demon world. And then when Shin asks him to elaborate, he says this and that. So clearly there is more to Glorio than meets the eye, and we learn a little bit more about what he's potentially going to be all about in this episode, but we don't get much. He's very much a kept together, sort of reserved, mysterious figure. As they fly in, they fly by a Deborah statue. And Deborah, who's obviously once the king of the demon world, he was holding out a peace sign, which kind of reminds me of the Goku statue, but also the Hercule sign for Satan City, where he's holding up the peace sign. It kind of fits both. After they land, Goku steps out. He wants to get a feel for the environment. It's a brand new world. The air is heavier and more dense because the volcanoes around create a gas that makes the air a lot more heavy. Thus, movement is a lot slower than usual. The overall ecology of the world is different. The animals, the flora, fauna, all that stuff is different. So Goku's kind of just walking around getting a feel for the place. Meanwhile, Glorio asks Shin if he is a Glind. Glind is apparently a type of demon based on the context of their conversation, and Glorio says that many Glind used to live in the second world and had no reason to come to the third. And right as Glorio's talking about that, sort of implying there might be some dangers, Goku naturally is chasing a rabbit. He almost falls off a cliff, and he apparently almost dies because he almost falls into what is known as the Sea of Darkness. And if you fall into the Sea of Darkness, you never come back. So there's that. Maybe that comes back in some clever way. So right as he's able to recompose himself, some barbarian creatures attack them. They fire arrows because they're all kind of like very, very caveman-like in their demeanor and in their attire. But when they fire their bows, it just fires. The arrows are just flying through the air very slowly. So again, once they're trying to reestablish that the world functions differently than what we're accustomed to. But while Goku is slow to move around and while the arrows are slow to move around, Glorio is able to speed up to the attackers, pulls out, he quick draws his pistol and just shoots them all, or not them specifically, but the area around, creating some explosions, and takes them out. It very much gave me like a Vash the Stampede Trigun kind of feel, because he's got the same sort of cool and calm demeanor in certain situations, and they're out in the desert, in the wasteland area, so it kind of hits the same notes as Trigun. I don't know if these moments are meant to resemble things like that, but that's something that I picked up on. So that tells us while Glorio may be a reserved, soft-spoken kind of person for right now, there's a lot more to him than meets the eye. He has combat experience, and he is much faster than what we originally thought to think was possible in this third demon world. So after this little kerfuffle, they land in a nearby town, which is very isolated. They walk in. Every person there is extremely shady. They're all giving these three the eye. They're all wondering who the heck these people are. It gives like a Star Wars kind of vibe, like a Western sort of vibe. And before they decide to turn in for the night, they decide to stop by at the local bar to get something to eat because Goku, naturally, is starving. So they go into the bar. Everyone starts staring at them again. And Glorio asks what Goku wants to eat. He says, "Do you want a burger or something?" Goku's like, "You know what? I'll take 5. So he gets 5 burgers. The other 2 decide to have something to drink. And then while Goku is trying to eat his burgers, he asks what kind of meat is in this burger. And then Glorio says, "You're better off not knowing," which for me is kind of a funny nod to just how fast food kind of is now. Sometimes you just never know what's inside one of those sketchy meat patties. So Goku proceeds to eat these like Halloween Whopper Burger King looking burgers. And this giant green dude who kind of looks like one of Piccolo's minions walks up to them and says,
"Hey, your ear isn't pointy, it's round. You're not from around here."
And Glorio says, "Back off," in a very intimidating kind of way. But this guy doesn't care. So he starts confronting them again. Glorio then chucks his drink into the guy's face, subdues him, and takes him out. And as he does that, another person gets agitated and attacks Glorio, and then he gets taken down. And then before you know it, the whole bar is attacking Goku, but Goku is having the time of his life eating this food, And in between, while he's taking bites of the burger, he's using his plates to fight these people, take them out. It's a fun little action sequence, not at the same level as that we're accustomed to for Dragon Ball, but it's very much scaled back, toned down. I think that's another reason why they wanted to re-emphasize and reestablish why this world is going to be a little bit slower than what we're accustomed to. Movement is slower. I think it was also to maybe give the animation some room to breathe. So the fight ensues. Goku is able to take out each person effortlessly. One guy even brings this giant axe to try to slam on Goku. He's unable to do anything. He stops them all, and he's able to enjoy his meal. After that, everyone is taken out. They leave the bar, and they turn in for the night. The next morning, when they wake up, they're getting ready to leave, and what do you know? Their plane is missing. The plane that they landed in the town is now missing, and the same axe, not the same size axe, but the same style axe as the one wielded by one of the people in the bar, is actually sitting right where their plane used to be. And so that leads us to think that's probably where we got to go next. So that's where the episode ends. So there's really, it's not quite the eventful episode that we were expecting. I think a lot of people going into this third episode, like me, were expecting a little bit more in terms of, you know, meeting the villain or perhaps approaching the villain a little bit more directly. Instead, we're kind of just dealing with the growing pains of this new world. To me, it's still fine. I don't mind it being this slow paced for right now, because there are some important details and some important rules that need to be established before we proceed. Because if we go into a Dragon Ball series expecting the same Dragon Ball, then it might set up some disappointment for some people, depending on who you ask. Maybe some people are a fan of the high action packed Dragon Ball Z stuff, and they don't see that. Maybe they don't see the type of battles we see between Goku and Cell. Instead, we're seeing something more scaled back like in Dragon Ball. That's why the world building that they do in this episode helps establish what the stakes are going to be like, what the fights are going to be like, and things like that. I'm going to give this episode a B overall. Still a great episode. I want to see Goku face a challenge, and I want to see Glorio give more information about why he is the way that he is and what exactly makes him tick. And I think we're probably going to be meeting another character very soon, because we see in the opening credits and the end credits, we see one more character, a blue-skinned demon character with pigtails. So she joins up with these guys once Vegeta, Bulma, and Piccolo join, or maybe we meet this person before the rest of the heroes who are going to be a regular in the series show up. So I'm going to give this episode overall a B. I still like it, and I'm still excited for more. So hopefully you guys enjoyed my retelling of the episode. Let me know in the comments if there's anything that I missed. I am not an expert on this stuff. I don't know anything about the behind the scenes. I'm just a fan watching a new Dragon Ball anime for the very first time and sharing my thoughts with you. Thank you so much for watching. Stay tuned, and always remember to Daima responsibly. I'll see you next week.